I didn't want to love the PRS Silver Sky, but actually since I've got it, this I think has been the guitar that I've played pretty much most of all. And I wasn't really expecting that to happen, but I don't know, sometimes these things happen. I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you guys where you had something that you thought sort of like a guilty pleasure in a way. But anyway, yeah, let me know your favourite guilty pleasure stories in the comments if you'd like.
This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
So before the vomit, I was just having a bit of a shred on this guitar. We are now a few hours clear, like 12 hours clear of the last vomit, so I hope we're alright. By the way, TrueFire sponsor this channel. I do want to mention that you can use the code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses, or JNC100 to get $100 off of their all-access membership for the year, which I think is probably the most beneficial and the most cost-effective way to engage with the TrueFire stuff. In particular, when we're talking about what is, I guess, thought of as a guitar for a blues musician, there's a course on there by Matt Schofield where he actually talks about the pentatonic scale in a little bit more of a kind of an instinctive way, but also starting to get into that sort of outlining chords kind of principle. And it's a really simple idea that stuck out to me that from my memory. And it's starting to just plot where the 1, 4 and 5 are in the pentatonic scale. And just be a bit more conscious about that. So when you're kind of moving, you know, around the pentatonic scale, specifically targeting the 1, 4 and 5, sounds really obvious, but it was just something that, for me, it was just a little bit of a like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you kind of do that? So eye-openingly simple that obviously we should be doing. So maybe something to think about is like in all your pentatonic box shapes, start to think, there's the 5, there's the 4, okay, over here, there's the 5, there's the 4, and start to plot where these things are happening and get a visual guide for this sort of stuff. Anyway, JNC40 to get 40% off of that course from Matt Schofield, or JNC100, and then you could dip in and out of all sorts of that stuff. So do go support TrueFire if you're into kind of learning from guitar. I think it's a great resource. Anyway, so the PRS Silver Sky, why didn't I want to like this guitar? I guess part of the thing is that it's one of the signature guitars out there that I think is a little bit more polarizing, and I do get emails, particularly from Randy, saying, you know, he's glad he hasn't seen me playing this one for a while. People do really have a bit of a strong reaction to the Silver Sky for a bunch of reasons that we've gone over in other videos. But you can't argue when a guitar actually just feels and plays quite nicely to you. I've got it strung up with D'Addario 9.5s now, which is this kind of new for me gauge, which is a bit of a sweet spot. Like with 9s, I find them a little bit too light, but I like to bend on those. And 10s, I kind of shy away from bending due to that increased tension. The 9.5 seems to be a little bit of a Goldilocks thing. There's really nothing about it that I'd change. Editor John from the future, I did find a thing that I don't like. These PRS strap buttons are really quite irritating. So I might change those out, to be honest, because they're too big to get a guitar strap over without really taking them off. So yes, they're a bit more secure. Well, that's the headstock. But a bit of a hassle to get straps on or off. The pickups seem polite and pretty well voiced. It's well balanced. I don't know how much of a difference in terms of like tone wood, you know, the woods on a bolt-on guitar would necessarily make. You know, people certainly argue with PRS about these sorts of things all the time, or Paul himself is what I mean by that. But what they have done is chosen to go down the route of making, I think, lighter guitars, which suits me really nicely, particularly when Fender and Suhrs and those types of guitars seem to be creeping up in weight. Using less dense wood, slightly drier wood maybe, but probably not. It just seems to me that they end up with a guitar that is nice, resonant, kind of has that springy vibe going on, and wants to be played, really. And I think that's a good thing. I can't really argue with actually wanting to pick this guitar up. I've got my other 2K line Strats on the stand here, but the radius of this is, I think, for some people going to be the thing that puts them off. But I would encourage you to maybe try and get one into your hands and see if it works for you. I really, really like that vintage radius. I know that would be one of the key things that people like Eric Johnson, even on vintage Strats, would kind of have the fretboard re-radiused to get rid of that 7.25. But it actually, for me, does work really nicely, and it feels really comfortable in the hand, particularly someone that grew up playing really flat like Ibanez necks. This feels right at home. So yeah, I've got not too many complaints about the guitar at all. I got it for £1,100. My buddy Jake spotted it, and it's just a great sounding and feeling S-type guitar, and also has a lot of sustain and doesn't have that dead feeling that you get with some guitars. So it just feels good. I don't know how you feel about it being played on the channel. Hopefully you can learn to appreciate it too, but I think it's going to stick around for a while because it's quite a fun one to play, really. Let me know if you've tried Silver Sky. If you had one and hated it, drop that in the comments. That's totally fine. Other opinions do exist, and I think they're totally valid. I just think it's a really well-built guitar, and to have got one used for £1,100, I think it was a bit of a steal, and one not to ignore. And it's actually gone, you know, right to the top, really, of my list of guitars that I like to pick up. And as it ages even more, who knows what it might end up looking like. PRS Silver Sky. Long may it continuum.